Hello and welcome to the very first episode of my brand new city series build for Cities Skylines 2. Today we're laying the foundations for the sunny city of Cape Lomond. Regular viewers will know I love making interchanges, and don't worry, there will be plenty of them as the city grows. However, this episode is very much about creating a beautiful little starter area. Unlike a lot of my previous builds that I've done in CS1, this starter area will likely remain in the city, mostly in its current form, until the very end. I do love a bit of detailing in my cities, and I've got tons of ideas that I'm looking forward to bring to fruition. I believe with a handful of the current mods available, I've got the tools now to create a uniquely detailed city that I'd be happy to share with you all. I'm aiming to keep this a lightly modded build, but we'll see how the game progresses. I'm open to ideas, I'll take whatever tools are available at the end of the day, we'll give it a go. Of course, with Paradox mods becoming available at some point, it remains to be seen if there's going to be issues with the game saves or, breaking and whatnot, so fingers crossed on that one. I guess if it breaks, there's not an awful lot we can do about it. Suck it up and we move on. So in this series, I'm going to draw inspiration for the build from the towns and the cities found along the Gulf Coast of the United States. That area stretches along the 5 states from Florida in the east to Texas in the west. Now that's not to say I'll be grabbing inspiration from other places, but this area will primarily be my go-to. In this episode, and in fact in this series, I'm going to use Florida's coastal neighbours as an inspiration for a lot of the low-density residential areas. So think along the lines of Tampa, St. Petersburg, West Palm Beach, and lots of water. So I've decided to use one of the newer vanilla maps, Sunshine Peninsula, primarily due to the in-game climate. My preference for this game is very much creating in the spring and in the summer. I find the vibrancy of the colours in that environment are much easier on my eyes, and frankly the game looks significantly better, so I'm going to lean into that. It's a pretty flat map, this one, which makes life a little bit easier. However, it's not going to stay that way for very much longer. I'm going to be carving this thing up like a Christmas turkey right from the very beginning, and if you guys have got any ideas, do let me know in the comments or jump into the Discord and let me know. I'm more than happy for you guys to do a bit of backseat gaming. In fact, I'm actively going to encourage you to do that, so if you find something cool to build from these areas I'm drawing inspiration from, just drop me a link, let me know what you got in mind. I'll also be needing some names, so I need a name for this area that's going to be built in today's video. If you've got a good name, again, give me a shout, let me know. There's a huge amount of work in this video. Along this video, to keep it a reasonable sort of video length, we're going to play it at a little bit of a quicker speed, and I'm just going to talk over it as I do it, really. So things will probably change as the series progresses. I'll probably slow it down and explain myself a little bit more in a wee bit more detail. But in terms of getting the city started, I think I just want to get something resembling something of a starter city with the first episode, and then we'll take it from there. That said, there's plenty of detail in here and quite a few nice bits and pieces we can still talk about. So let's get on with it. So as you saw from the introduction, I've created a bit of an artificial lake, a man-made one, and we're just going to base our residential and a little couple of pockets of commercial around that. Using the small roads for roundabouts where we're going to build low-density residential, and then we've used the dirt paths and we're just going to basically do a little bit of landscaping around there. I'd reduced the height down to about 5 meters below ground level, and that means that we can get the water in a few minutes. It also means that with that shallow depth, it gives a really nice colour when we're looking at it from a distance. So here we're just putting some city services in, nothing too fancy really. We just want to get it up and running, get it functional, and get some sims running about the city. So this is the groundwater pumping station, I believe. I ended up poisoning the city. I didn't realise that there would be ground pollution here. I'm guessing it's from the turbines, so I didn't use that asset before in any of my cities. So with the turbines here, what I'd like to do in later episodes is certainly come back and revisit this. There's a huge wind farm not too far away from where I am, and it's very much used for recreation. Somewhere you'd go out, go for a jog, take the bike, or take the dog a walk. So at some point I'd like to build something inspired by that area. I think this one would probably be a little bit more interesting actually. It looks like we're going to get a bit of height on here, and I think it will really lend itself to a reasonable size wind farm potentially, later on in the build. But again, putting it in with sort of mixed use, little visitor centre, maybe a little cafe, And I guess that kind of thing would be nice for events, you know, school trips and that kind of thing, I guess, you know. Education and fun. Can't beat it. I'm going to put in a little path here. Make it a little bit more interesting. I guess it'll give access to the workers, I suppose. And again, it can double up and people can get maybe a little bit of a hike in. Some potential nice views here. Looks okay. Let's just add a little bit of vegetation, a little bit of greenery here, make it look a little bit more interesting. So as I said earlier at the beginning, we're going to just use whatever mods looks like will be useful. Mostly quality of light stuff, guys, to be honest. Things that I would have really hoped that were going to be in the base game. So, you know, line tool coming in handy here. I'm making a bit of a mess of it. Sometimes you just have to plop it down individually, I guess, as well. But we can back up and we can tidy that up a little bit as well. So I guess in a path like this, you'd be looking for a fence or a hedge or something, I guess. Could be a nasty slip here, a nasty fall. So let's get this in. We'll keep them all safe. So as we come back down to the visitor centre, we're going to mess about with the surfaces here and just expand them out. Looks an awful lot better, doesn't it? You know, simple mods, I guess, can make such a big difference. Here we'll put in a couple of little commercial areas. I don't have any office that I'd maybe like to put in here and expand. But for the time being, we'll kind of make it look a little bit nicer. I'm not going to spend too much time. And as I said earlier on, I'll probably end up relocating all of this stuff anyway. But sometimes I just can't help myself. I just have to stick a couple of bushes down and make things a little bit nicer. So that's what I'm going to do. So now that we've got some basic services in, next up we're just going to expand our road network to support some more residential expansion. We're going to roughly follow the existing network, but not exactly. We're not building a grid here at this point, so we can kind of do what we want. As long as we're kind of happy with the aesthetics of it, then we'll run with it. So again, just adjusting a little bit of the ground as and when we need. That's looking good. Nope. Need to redo that. Let's get short of this. Get sorted. Simple curves in here. Okay, so we're just going to give a little top up to the water. I didn't want to put everything in at the beginning. I was worried about flooding, not going to lie. So I thought, take it easy. Maybe fill it up half and then sort of top it up once it's in. Let's get this residential stuff finished off now. Okay, so we've got the majority of the landscaping done. We will come back and tidy things up a little bit, make it more interesting, but let's crack on with a little bit more layout in terms of the roads. We're pretty much done for the vast majority of the residential stuff now. It's all sitting there ready for zoning, and I think our little lake is looking good and starting to take shape. So here just now, I'm going to start up a quick area for our first of our commercial areas, or commercial corners. So what I've got envisioned for this corner is probably more of a touristy type area. So more of a leisure district, I guess, a little tiny leisure district, I suppose is a better way of saying it. So if you think along the lines of, you know, some bars, cafes, restaurants. Obviously we've used pedestrian path here and we're doing pedestrian roads as well, so we want to make it nice and walkable, you know, for the Sims, and I guess to some degree we want to try and attack some tourists into this nice little spot as well. We're going to have some manicured park areas, we're going to have some viewing or fishing piers, and a nice little nature walk as well, so it should be really attractive. More of a kind of higher end sort of commercial area, I'm guessing would be the way to describe it. We are going to hop over to the next we are going to hop over to the other side, and that's going to be more of a kind of like a locals commercial area as well. So it's a nice little differentiation, if you like, you know, between the two areas as well. They've got their own little character. So we'll crack on, we'll get these paths done, and you're going to see where the piers are going to be going in just a few minutes as well. So with these big sections, I just want some bigger assets in it as well. So big chunky ones, we'll put them all in, we'll let it grow in and see what it gives us. But the kind of 4x4, 6x6 assets is what I'm looking in those bigger square areas, do you know, at the top. So the little 2x2 assets here, that is deliberate, along with the paths as well. So this is that little sort of section, those two little blocks are going to be pretty much what we're going to detail later on. We're going to get some, as I say, some cafes, nice seating areas, get some umbrellas up, and somewhere you can sort of chill out and relax in the sun, I guess. Now, I didn't like these trees, they didn't really fit in, so we're going to use what we have here already, chestnuts, and we'll put them in. So as we go along, we're just going to use that surface adjustment as well. It looks significantly better up against the roads if you can just pull these things out. And again, it's going to be the same idea. I'm going to just do the first square of the bar section or restaurant section, really just to kind of get a feel and an idea of what it's going to look like. We'll come back in the detailing towards the end of the video, and we'll spend quite a bit more time making it look a little bit better. We get some fences in and all that kind of stuff as well. But for now, I just want to throw something up, get an idea, get a feel for it, see if I liked it, to be honest, and see if it's worth pursuing. And I think it is, you know. So here we're just using the Find Stuff mod, I think it's called. I'm just using some, you know, some simple benches, parasols here as well. So get the first of the fences up. We'll see how it looks. I think that first industrial fence looks pretty good. We can kind of box in a section. Well, it certainly adds a little bit of character to the area as well, doesn't it? Put a little chair out the back so you have a cigarette if you're that way inclined. Put some chairs out the front as well and get people out the shade. Now this is the other corner I was referring to earlier on, where we're going to have another bit of a commercial district, or mini district I suppose, and I'm going to introduce the first of the grids in this city as well, and it'll be a small one, you know. Again, it doesn't make sense to have a massive grid with what I've got planned to be built here. So I'm going to have a little bit of mixed use here. We're going to put in some residential to begin with, and then we're going to add a little bit of a commercial zone as well. Now the commercial zone will have a grid of sorts. It will be kind of broken up and offset. I'll show you that in a minute or two as well. Kind of hummed and hawed about whether to introduce some medium density here, and it just didn't feel right, you know. It didn't look right, so I gave it a go. It kind of sucked. That get weeked out in short order. We're going to crack on and we'll continue doing like 2x2s here. Again, I think it makes sense. I guess it's probably in this section where the kind of town is. You don't have views, you don't have too much views of the water. I guess some of them do, I suppose, in fairness. But I guess they have a little bit less space, and it's probably going to cater to potentially, you know, sort of lower income. And I think to try and avoid the high rent problems as well, if you have a nice mix of small and larger lots, then your Sims have got more choices really to choose from, do you know, when it comes into the housing stock. So in terms of the commercial offset grid I was talking about, this is pretty much what I mean. Just going to draw a road out, we'll draw a bigger grid, get shot of it, we'll draw a few things in and see what we like and see what we don't. Now the zoning wasn't playing nice here, so we'll just use a little path and force the zoning. Right, so on to the next little section here. So again, the same sort of idea. We'll look at kind of a bit of an offset off the main road. Eventually, we'll stick some zoning in here and have a little experiment and see what we like the look of. Put a bigger square in this time. Okay, lovely. So I'm kind of happy with that as a general sort of layout to get a rough idea. So we'll get onto the terraforming of this man-made lake. So we'll smooth it all out, go right the way around the whole thing. bit by bit. Now there's not too many micro adjustments on here because I've pretty much left enough ground, you know, to terraform that and smoothing it out without cutting back into the in towards the housing. So if you do take a little bit of time, if you decide to do something similar yourself, make sure you've got enough ground, you know, of a space between the houses and the water, and you can pretty much go around that without any adjustments. So every house that's on the water here and on the land that's jutting out, I don't know what to call, I don't know what to call you know, that bit of land, but everybody's going to get their own jetty, which is pretty sweet. And again, if you see these things on Florida and Google Maps, you know, they all pretty much tend to have these things as well, which looks kind of nice. As you can see as I'm going around, it's just a simple case of just pulling it out and putting a little extension, you know, at 90 degrees. So Anarchy all the way in terms of the mod for this one, so you can pull it out in the water without any issues. And the same goes when you're trying to pull out the little bits left and right. No problems there. You can make them super small without having too many issues. One thing I did notice when I was doing this was that some of them, if you pay attention to where I'm doing it, some of them will be flat on the ground, like that one, and some of them, unfortunately, will still have the fence around them. So I had to go back around all of them, delete them, and redo them. So that was fun. Now in terms of vegetation here, I am going to take all of this out. I am going to put my own vegetation in this lake, but I want to control what's on there. I want to control what it looks like. So we'll clear it all out, get rid of it all. Again, we're going to go back to our little grid here, and we're just going to continue the theme with the 2x2s for the most part here. Again, we'll try and just get some people coming in. We definitely need to sort of up the commercial game. We want to try and balance demand here and really just kind of encourage growth. So for now, I think we've got enough. We will expand it a little bit more. And here I want to really just expand a little single asset. So I'm going to pull a road out here, and I've got some nice ideas for this little corner section. Some more piers. I guess we're going to have some commercial piers here. It would be, you know, more than anything else. I'm using a bit of imagination. What I've got in mind here is a little corner asset that might be offering, you know, potentially maybe boat tours, fishing tours, that kind of thing, you know. I think it's worthwhile, and especially a nice little asset like that on the water in the corner. Spend a little bit of time, and what I'm going to do is make a little bit of a courtyard or a little mini plaza. So we'll use a surface extension or a surface tool, and we'll just pull something out here and make it look like a single concrete area. Easy access obviously to these piers as well. We'll box it in by sticking in a little bit of hedging, make it nice and safe and enclosed. And we're going to just zone a little bit of residential here. And I think I come back later in the video and change that back again to commercial, but we'll see. So along here, we've been keeping everything nice and natural. What I want to do now is just stick a path in. We're going to use the road tools, and we're going to make a small quay. And I think that curve looks really nice. I think it fits. Pop a path there for just now, but I think we'll come back to that in the detail, and then we'll maybe make it a little bit tidier. Let's join this path up, and again we'll just make it a quay. Looks a little bit more like it, doesn't it? And we'll get rid of these bushes that aren't required. There we go. It's looking pretty decent. So let's flatten this out, just make sure stuff's going to go in and it's not going to look too junky. And again, the zoning's not playing nice, so we'll just stick a path in here. We'll extend it out. It looks like a solid square of development. Now this is looking like a webbed foot or something. Let's sort this out. Yeah, we'll just flatten it all out. Now, I think this will look quite nice if we make it all a key. Now that went in okay in the first couple of parts. Again, we'll just use the same tool and make the whole thing key. And it looks a little bit more cohesive, doesn't it? Let's get rid of these paths as well. They do look a little bit off, and we'll just bring our surface extender out a little bit as well. I think at this point we've got enough of the main building really to the majority of the roads that I want to put in. The layout, you know, the main layouts of the you know, couple of commercial hubs, and obviously we've got the city services in at the beginning. But what I want to do just now is really just concentrate on a little bit of vegetation, and we'll just make things look a little bit prettier. So here I wanted to try and give something of the impression of a water vegetation, a kind of mangrove type thing. Obviously we don't have the assets in the game, you know, so mangroves, pine trees, long grasses, that kind of stuff would look absolutely epic in this, but we can only use with the assets that we have, so what can you do? So I found that is it the lime tree or the lemon tree, apple tree, I can't remember what the asset is off the top of my head now. I found that works pretty good when you just sort of peek it in and out of the water. It kind of gives that sort of mangrove-esque sort of vibe, I guess, you know, and I'm going to run with that for this build. So a little bit of a mix of the of that particular asset, and then a couple of little bushes to give something of a contrast, I guess. Didn't want to get too involved putting in stones and all that kind of stuff. I think the contrast between the colours in the water, you know, the shallow depth of the water as well, given that sort of aqua blue, along with the vegetation, actually looks really nice. It looks really good when you come up close to it as well. So we'll get a couple of shots before we finish up as well. So at this point we're just going to zone up. We're going to do a bit more detail, and we're going to get some trees in. You'll probably see me using the trees here and forgetting to turn Anarchy off, so I'm going to have an awful lot of trees on an awful lot of roads. I will be removing them obviously as well, so that's it. Yeah, we'll just sit back and we'll crack on, and we'll make the place look pretty. I think putting in these big oak bushes, sometimes it's nice to get a nice bit of really heavy density in here as well. And fire station, I'm going to think the fire station more of a sort of church, more of a sort of focal area, I guess, you know, for this particular area. And I think it looks pretty nice in there. It kind of makes sense as well, doesn't it, for a small village, I guess, like this. We're just finishing up the pathing areas for this little section, and I think it's looking pretty good. It's coming together quite nicely, especially with these big trees and little paths connecting different areas and whatnot as well. So we'll crack on, we'll finish this, and then we'll come back and have a chat and see what else we need to do. So a little note on using the Anarchy mod: you can obviously extend surfaces, but you can place assets directly into the, you know, the big asset here as well. So you can really kind of customize, you know, these big assets. These big assets look great as they are, but sometimes a little bit of greenery, a little bit of extra tree, bush, hedge, whatever, can certainly make a little bit of difference. It does give you the ability to make your own sort of unique feel, I guess, rather than looking like exactly the same asset. Really happy on this little section. I think it looks super cool, this little corner. Lovely and unique, and we'll finish it up by sticking in a little bit more vegetation and really sort of flesh that out a little bit. Gonna leave you with the cinematics now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really does help the channel, guys. It'd be much appreciated. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.